Welcome to Spectrum Perspectives, real talk with parents, professionals, and autism advocates. With your host, Cindy Gellermini.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode where I'll be talking to Jenny who lives in Wisconsin. She'll talk about her son Adam and when he was diagnosed with autism over 30 years ago and the effects on her marriage and finding him schools and programs and the revolutionary program that helped him finally learn how to communicate. Today we are meeting with my friend Jenny, and Jenny used to watch my Robbie and me videos, and we became friends on Facebook. And so we are meeting for the first time live, speaking to each other here on a Zoom call. Actually, it's the second time because the first time I forgot to hit the record button. So this is a retake, but Adam wasn't feeling well the other day. So how's he feeling today? Feeling better?
He's better. Yeah, he's better. He's walking around okay, and yeah, getting into mischief. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So maybe he'll wander in while we're on the call. Which is...
Well, Grandpa making pancakes. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Today's Valentine's Day too. So is that a treat? The strawberry pancakes, a treat for Valentine's?
Sundays are a treat for pancakes. Yeah.
Oh, Sunday. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. So, all right, let's do this like I do with every single mom. Let's start at the very beginning. When you were pregnant with Adam, how did everything go? Did you have a normal pregnancy? Any kind of issues or problems?
No, my pregnancy was fine. Being a younger mom, you don't know what to kind of expect, but he was my first child, the first grandma or grandchild, and the first great grandchild. Everybody was really excited about a baby coming. My labor and delivery, though, that was a little tense towards the end. My blood pressure shot up pretty high. Mm-hmm. Still delivered him normally. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to have a C-section or anything, but they were a little nervous for me. But everything went.
Was there low oxygen? A couple of moms have mentioned that.
Not that I'm aware of, no. He just came, he was really being a little stinker coming out, so yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But he didn't go in the NICU or anything like that?
No.
And he was a normal weight?
Right.
And he wasn't a preemie or anything like that? Okay.
No.
So tell me about his development. Did he hit his milestones?
For the first part, yeah. Up until probably he was like a year, everything was coming along. We did notice some things though, like at first, the first couple months where he would be doing a lot of staring at lights, a lot of uncontrolled laughter, really a lot of babbling. But then when he got to be about a year, 13 months, he started to say words. He said my nephew's name, which is Hunter. He said that, and that's not your typical name to say. Adam's 34 years old, so he, we're talking back how many years ago, things were very different. But then his language changed. He was also, up until he was a year, 13 months, he was, playing with blocks. He was doing everything normally. He had a lot of good physical things that he could do, moving blocks around, running around, those kind of things. But then things started to change between that period and probably about 2 years. That's when things changed, where his language changed. It was more into like a babbling, but more almost, it sounded like the Chinese language. And he would hoot a lot, like almost like a train. He would hoot a lot. But that was, you'd ask him a question, and that was his response of hooting. Or just for no reason, like in the middle of the night, or he had a lot of sleeping issues when he was younger. Very, very, a lot of sleeping problems. So it was up until that like 16, 18 month range, where things started to change for him.
Right. Yeah. And so did you mention it to the pediatrician? What were they saying?
Well, at the same time, he was having a lot of ear infections. We were having struggles with getting shots for him. That was another thing. When he had his first shots, he screamed bloody murder that night. That was a very bad time.
You're talking about vaccinations?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. How old was he then? Which, like you're talking about, I don't remember the timeline of vaccinations. A couple months. Was he like
Yeah,
a couple months, or this was the one he was like a year and a half?
year and a half that second
Okay.
time. The first one was, it still wasn't the best time, but the second round of shots, those were pretty hard.
So
He
he was
screamed
screaming bloody murder. Did he have any kind of reactions? Did he get a fever or anything like that?
a slight fever, yes. But just the crying, we were just consoling him all night. Yeah.
Oh, after the shot. Really? Really? And then he had
Yeah,
a little, yeah.
Dave.
So is that when so would you say that you saw the difference after the shot or before?
Somewhat before also, but it got worse after. And you don't, when they're a new baby, things always go so fast. You don't always notice everything. It's not until after the fact and people point out, did you notice Adam did this?
Yeah.
We look now at videotapes that my sister took, and you see all those things in his physical mannerisms. The stimming started
Right.
at the same time, hand flapping, his organization. He would take, his dad got him these little like Mickey Mouse Muffet dolls,
Mhm.
these little small dolls,
Mhm.
and stuffed animals, and from where he worked, and he would line them up on his bed, or he would line them up under the Christmas tree. That was a big thing. He would hide under the Christmas tree.
Ah,
Anything that was like an enclosed
yes.
environment,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. Yeah. I just posted yesterday one of my old videos of Robbie, and he used to always hide in the closet.
Yeah. Yeah. But yet Adam didn't have a lot of fear when he was younger. He has a high pain tolerance. That's why it's so hard to figure out if he's not feeling good.
Right.
Just like a lot of autistics. But yeah, and things started to change too when I would take him shopping, and he would just grab at me for no reason. You'd be somewhere, and it wasn't until years later that I realized it was the environment in the store. It was the lights.
Right.
It was,
Oh, okay. I was thinking that maybe he saw something he wanted and he was trying to tell you. No.
no, it was the lights. It was the cement floor
Mm.
that bothered him. And that didn't come out until, many years later, until I read about the light sensation and the colors in certain stores that would bother people.
Right.
And that's really Adam when I figured it out years later.
Interesting. All right. So how did we end up at the diagnosis of autism?
Well, he started to have more behaviors. He started to have just the speech was not there. He was getting to be 3 years old and nothing was happening other than the hooting. So his family care doctor at the time said, I think you should take him to Madison, which is our state of Wisconsin. And they have a hospital there, a clinic called the Weisman Center, and it's right in the UW-Madison Hospital is where we took him. He had a all-day intensive therapy class, met with several different people. And then they gave him the diagnosis of autism. And he was probably about 3.5 then. And, they give you this autism, this name, and you don't know what it really is. Okay, what is it?
Right.
Here. Well, I think they gave us a pamphlet on it.
Yeah, me too. It's a skinny little pamphlet.
Which is kind of like
COSAC, I think, which I don't think even exists anymore.
kind of
the organization.
like,
And
okay.
and Adam is 34, so that means this is 30, 31 years ago. There was no internet back then, because that was my experience. Robbie would be 30 now. There's they give you this diagnosis, and then what? You can't, you don't know anything about it. What does that mean?
No, they said that we would be in contact with them because we were one of the first folks that they diagnosed. It
Really?
was yeah.
This was a
So,
new clinic? I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit.
newer clinic, yes,
What, okay.
there. And so that was the first diagnosis. So we went back at the time, he had some support through the county because at the same time we were starting to get like funding for like respite, and he was starting to at that time think about going to school. So they were starting to evaluate him to see where he could go.
Through the
So
Board of Ed or this clinic? Who was evaluating him for
outside
school?
of like in our town,
Okay.
in the city, yeah. So we were starting to get things things were coming in, and people were evaluating him. So it was starting to come from two different sources, but until they decided what kind of help he would need, he had to have an official diagnosis. Well, none of the doctors here, I think they kind of suspected, but they never knew what this condition was.
Right.
Now you
Yeah,
can
back
have,
then it was not, barely ever heard of.
yeah, and now you could probably just go to your regular doctor and get a diagnosis or somewhat of a closer diagnosis.
Yeah.
We took him there and they basically said, well, you'll work with your local school system and they'll decide what will happen, where he can go. But really in the general school population, there's not a lot of teachers that know about this condition. So we don't really know what will happen.
Mhm.
So that left us all very, devastated. You've been there. They give you this paper, my husband and I at the time, you don't know, what are you gonna do? And it affected the whole family. It affected my marriage. It was just a lot. It was just a lot.
There's an 80% divorce rate in families that have a child with autism.
There-
And almost every single mom that I'm interviewing is divorced. I certainly don't want to blame the kids, but the condition, living with it can be very stressful. And so do you
It is.
think that contributed to?
Oh, sure. Sure. It's the added stress, and it's a big factor. It is, definitely.
Mhm.
I agree. So we had that. Yeah.
So how old was Adam when you got divorced?
Oh gosh, I don't even remember. Maybe 9, 10.
Oh, okay. So it lasted for a while past when he was originally diagnosed.
Mhm.
Okay.
But Adam has a good relationship with his dad. He still sees his dad on a regular basis. So
Good.
we've got a good relationship. So yeah,
Yeah.
it works out.
Yeah. And you live upstairs from your parents, right?
Yeah.
So thank
Yeah.
God for them.
So it's good, when we have a support system for each other, and Adam is very well adversed as coming downstairs, and seeing grandma and grandpa, seeing the other family members that come and visit. We have other aunts and uncles that live close by, and my sisters and their kids. So yeah.
Yeah. And tell me about how he likes to go down and he has tea with them, I think, or coffee.
He has coffee, and he's really involved. He really likes these Polish mugs that my mom has. They're Polish pottery because we're Polish.
Mhm.
And he really only carries those mugs, and he always has to have 3 at a time.
Oh,
Yeah, 3 at a time.
wait,
So
when you mean he drinks 3 cups of coffee?
he's just holding them, and
Oh.
he'll have a little coffee in them, but he's always got to hold 3 at one time.
Okay. And he lines them up too, doesn't he?
Yes. So if he doesn't have 3,
Oh.
he'll come over and get mine.
Oh.
And he'll add it to his. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's a little OCD thing that he's got going on.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right. So let's back up. So where did he end up going to school, to preschool?
Well, about the diagnosis though, we
Yeah.
actually ended up, the Wiseman Center gave him that diagnosis. And then we weren't really happy with that because they didn't give us much information. So we actually went to UW Milwaukee Children's Hospital
Okay.
about a year after that. And they had a specialized program there as well. But the lady that was running it actually had a lot more experience in it.
Hmm.
So a lot more background, and she confirmed the diagnosis, but she gave us more information about it. She kind of said, well, it isn't a death sentence, there's opportunities. And one of the things she talked about was a school that actually was in our county. The name of the school is Sybil Hop, and it's a specialized school for students with developmental delays and what have you, physical, mental, those types of things, but like specifically with autism. So that's where he started at age 4.
Okay.
And he went there until he was 21.
Okay. So he didn't get any early intervention before he was 4.
They did not have anything.
Yeah.
But
now I'm talking to parents and their kids are starting at 18 months old because they're
Yes.
recognizing it much earlier. So it's amazing
in their
what
home.
happened.
Yeah.
So did they use ABA with him in school?
No, not really. They didn't. The school didn't use a lot of that. It was just the picture exchange program for Adam.
Right.
But he did have a lot of other intervention like OT, PT, those types of things.
Right.
So it was a really good experience for us all. He was in a room with probably 4 or 5 other students.
Right.
1 teacher, 2 aides. The bathroom was right in the room. He didn't have to worry about going anywhere else.
Right.
If it wasn't for those teachers, we would be lost. You always have your challenges, but the teachers were so great. They knew how to work with us. If Adam was sick or anything, they could recognize all of those things and, ahead of time.
So he was using picture exchange. So did he ever develop words, speech, or no?
Some sign language, because they did sign language as well. And he had some speech, but it was very limited. But Adam's communication, he may not say words, but you know what he means. Yeah. And he will bring you to things. Like if he wants milk, he's going to bring you to the refrigerator. Or he'll just sign, and sometimes it's usually just like this. He's got his own sign for bathroom, those types of.
Right. Yeah. So, Robbie used to use modified signs, like he couldn't do help like this, but he'd go like this. And like, oh, Robbie, do you want help?
Yeah.
Yeah. And well, as a mom, you can read them and just like a mom understands your toddler, you know what they're trying to say. So
that was a frustration though, because not everyone would understand him.
Yeah.
So to get someone to watch him for me during the day, or if there was a snow day or a school day or whatever, or a vacation day, that was pretty difficult to have anyone else come in the home.
Yeah, and that's my parents. I wanted to know about, being a single mom and you work. How do you do that? I mean, you have your parents there, but.
Well, right now I have support during the day. We have a caregiver that's been with him for a number of years, so she's in the home with us. But prior to him, because he was in school until he was 21, so prior to that, if he was sick or if there was time off from school, I was home with him. So that's usually how it worked. But the summer months were difficult. We had to go.
Did he have the extended school year or no? Or his school ended in June for him?
In June. Yep.
Oh, so you had the whole summer off.
So those, well, no, we ended up, if he wasn't with my mom and dad, depending on what the age was, I think when he got to be probably 16, then we had a day services program that was available for him for just the summer months.
Okay.
So.
And you didn't have to pay for that?
That was all part of his state program that he was in.
Okay. So he, from what I see of Adam, he kind of moves in slow motion, which is different than like Robbie was like a whirlwind. He was like the Energizer Bunny. And so did Adam ever get violent? Did you have behaviors with him like that or no? He seems like a gentle giant to me.
Oh, thank you. But yeah. Oh, here he comes. Come on.
Oh, here he is.
He's just checking it out.
Oh, okay. Hi,
He's
Adam.
standing there with his cup.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's things that, if he wants something, or particularly if he's coming down with something,
Mm,
if he's getting sick, he will yell. He will come and ask me things, and yeah.
mhm. But
Yeah,
he
there's
doesn't break things. He doesn't hurt himself.
he hasn't broken anything in a long time, maybe when he was younger, but yeah, he has his self-injurious behaviors, sure.
Mhm.
It's usually his hand. He'll bite his hand.
Right.
We've curbed the hitting of the head
Mhm.
because you can tell from his facial expressions when it's going to come on,
Right.
because he kind of does this thing like he's looking at me and he's gonna, and, yeah.
Right.
Mm,
Right. And he's doing it to get a reaction out of you.
yeah. A lot who can, because of the medications that he's on, this might be TMI, but they can cause a lot of constipation.
Mhm.
So I have to watch that, because if he's not going on a regular basis,
Right.
that can be, he can get a bellyache,
Right.
and
Right.
some of that,
Yeah. I'm on some of these autism pages, and some of the moms are saying that, oh, he's acting out and I can't figure out what's wrong. He's having behaviors for no reason. And some of the other parents like us that have been there are like, no, there's a reason. You just have to figure out what it is. He might have a belly ache. He could have a headache, like, a pain somewhere.
Yeah.
No.
Teeth problems are a big one. He went through a long time where he was starting to hit his face. But then when we finally, because going to the dentist with him is not a good thing.
Mm.
So we usually have to get him hospitalized, and then they'll
Yes.
take out some teeth. They'll do a good cleaning.
Yeah, they have to knock them out sometimes.
Yeah.
do it.
So
Yeah.
he's had that done twice now. The jumping, that's another thing. He will stand and he will just jump. And because he's a bigger guy,
Mhm.
that's a lot. You're
Yeah.
like, what's going on? Yeah. But that's a big sign of him not feeling good or him having to go.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
kind of get him to redirect. It's a lot of redirection with him.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay, so he went to school till he was 21, and then he didn't go to any kind of a day program or anything after that?
He went to a day program for a while, yes, a couple different ones, but that was not really a good fit for him. He didn't do well with too much stimulus.
Hmm.
There were just too many people there.
Mhm.
Can you say hi? No.
Nope.
Okay. And then he's just turning on the light off and on. Yeah.
Oh.
But there was a really good program, a day services program, where it was more like a school environment. It would have been a good transition for him because it was more school-like.
Right.
But his needs at that time were much greater than what they could provide.
Oh.
But yeah, he stayed a couple, probably 5 years at different day services programs. And then the last one he was in, they just decided, and it was a combination of that, just wasn't working.
Mhm.
So he wasn't able to stay there any longer.
Mhm.
So then we decided at that time that his caregiver, who was working there at the time with him and had been with him for, I think it's going on 11 years. She just came to my home. So she's been,
How did you find the caregiver?
they hired her. She was hired for him because when he left school, it was determined that he would need a one-on-one aid.
Hmm.
So she was hired that summer specifically for Adam.
By the state?
No, it was by the company, by the day services program where he was going, the company.
Oh, the day program.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it. All right. So they hired her, and then you left the day program, but you kept her.
Yes.
Got it. So, and the state pays for this for her to come? Or this
Yes.
is okay. Okay. Because but this is Wisconsin, so I don't know, because I haven't heard anyone in New Jersey mention something like that.
Now he's in a program called Family Care. Years ago, all of the funding for anybody that was developmentally disabled was at the county level. So, and they strictly only covered certain things, like his respite, like his, if he needed like maybe, I don't know even what extra things he would need in the home, whatever, it was all covered under that. And it was always the same bucket of money. Okay. You really didn't change much of it. So then the governor at that time developed this program called Family Care, where it was different companies that were going to be managing the money. So there was a bigger pool of money, and there was different folks that could be making decision. Like Adam has 2 different caseworkers instead of 1. He has one that is more that is the financial piece of it and the day-to-day functions. But then the other person is more of the medical. She's a nurse. So she follows up with the doctor. She's doing everything that way. So I have much more availability, and I know there's much more people that are taking care of them than just me.
Right. And so did you have to fill out forms and apply for something like?
Sure. Everything happened when he was
18, maybe?
What was that?
Well, here when you're 18, you have to declare guardianship, you have to apply for
that.
FSI.
Yep. All of that. But when he turned 15, the program that was coming out then, it was a long waiting list. So by luck, we got in when he was 18 to get funding through this program. I think it was called KIP, Community Integration Program. So there was one for the developmentally disabled and then one for the elderly, KIP and COP, they called them, and all done at the county level. So then they decided that plan would go away and we'd move into family care, and we had different companies of managed care that we could choose from that would help us and monitor the money, or you could do it yourself. That's kind of your options.
Right.
But yeah, so he came into my home. That's all part of the funding, where now she's a personal care worker.
Got it.
Is really what she is. And I'm also a personal care worker for the weekends and the evenings.
Oh, really? So do you get paid for that? Wow. Yeah. I've seen people asking about that too. Yes. I remember years ago, gosh, when Robbie was little, another mom in another town from me, she didn't like any of the bus drivers that they kept sending to drive her son to school. So she became his bus driver, and the town paid her to drive her own son to school. And I thought that was just brilliant. I just wouldn't even have thought of something like that.
Yeah, bus rides for Adam was not a good thing. Again, the stimulus and it was always warm, and it was lots of behavior on the bus.
That's it for part 1 of Jenny's story. Be sure to tune in for part 2, where she starts talking about the rapid prompting method that her son Adam used to learn how to communicate. I hope you enjoyed listening and it helped you gain a new perspective. To see the video version of the show, go to our YouTube channel, Robbie and Me, Autism Reality. If you're interested in buying our book series, Robbie's World and His Spectrum of Adventures, the link will be in our episode description, as well as my Instagram and Facebook pages. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like more content, please be sure to hit that like button, follow us, and don't forget to leave us a great review. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.
Thank you for joining us for part 1 of today's episode. Be sure to join us again next time to hear the second half of the interview on Spectrum Perspectives.